Good evening and welcome to another edition of HGP Sport. For today, I'm Jaden Samuels. Thanks for joining us. Cycling news. Horace Burrows has been unseated of the presidency after the Guyana Cycling Federation held its elections on Tuesday. Was the right person picked for the post? We will have to wait and see. The new president is Lyndon Dorwich. The details in this report. The sport of cycling has turned a new page and will be under the watchful eyes of new president Lyndon Dorwich, who pipped Burrows to the presidency. Burrows walked out of the elections after a heated exchange on matters relating to audit reports and financial statements, which would be available for public consumption by next week, according to auditors Ramon McRae. 2 weeks ago, in an exclusive interview with Nightly News, the outgoing president had expressed the view that the local situation with regards to cycling is not a healthy one on many levels. He had, however, expressed optimism that under his watch there would have been improvement. Meanwhile, the new president, in his remarks immediately following his win, noted that the journey to this post was not a walk in the park and is calling for support as he charts a course forward in the sport of cycling. Under Burrows' watch, the Guyana Cycling Federation has strengthened its ties with the International Cycling Union in getting the body more affiliated with its operations and organizing the requisite training for local officials. Shortly before the elections, Burrows had let Nightly News in on some of his plans for the federation and where it could be if the right person is picked for the post.
It depends on who's sitting in the front seat. You're right. It depends on who's pushing the sport. If I am not in the sport, I wish that someone that is really vibrant about the sport, that is really passionate about this sport, is sitting there, that could get stuff done. Because if someone is just in here for some other agenda, not the sports and not the youths, it will not move forward. Right? And it is something that you have to spend. You have to spend. I mean, the government is one thing helping us, but there's another thing that you have to spend your own money to get to these places. Right? And it is true. You cannot just sit down and wait on the government to fund you, because we will never get there. Right? So cycling moving to a different 5 to 8 years from now, I see in the direction that we are going now, I see we having at least about 2 to 3 persons at the World Championship, which has never been done before. We had juniors at the World Championship for the first time in our history of our federation, which I took 2 junior. 1 junior, Brighton John, twice.
The new executive members of the Guyana Cycling Federation include Unika Ramsuchit, 2nd Vice President, Enzo Matthews, 3rd Vice President, Mark Sonorama, as the new secretary, while Miss Inga Peters will perform duties of treasurer, Malcolm Sonoram, racing secretary, and Steve Ramsuchit, assistant racing secretary. Jaden Samuels, HGP Sport. 43 is Guyana's medal count at the recently concluded Goodwill Games held in neighboring Suriname. The medal haul included 23 individual medals of 6 gold, 5 silver, and 12 bronze, and 20 relay medals, 8 gold, 4 silver, and 8 bronze. Trinidad and Tobago tops the points table with 1,470, followed by Jamaica 986, Suriname 940 points, Guyana finishing just behind 582, the Bahamas 414, Barbados 237, French Guiana 235, Curacao 120, and St. Lucia 29 points. Let's move to some women's football taking place in Region 9, Letem. Tapachinga and Mokomoko football clubs are latest winners in the Teresa and George Bob 7-a-side women's football. Samuel Gillis tells us more.
The Tapachinga and Mokomoko football clubs are the latest winners of the match in the Teresa and George Bob tournament. The Under-17 Women's Round-Robin tournament organized by the Rupununi Football Association continued recently. TFC secured their first win of the tournament following 2 draws when they knocked in goals on both halves of play. to turn back the challenge of Gladiators Football Club, who had suffered their third loss so far in the competition. Malaika Dikam sent TFC into the lead with 8 minutes on the clock, but Rihanna Alcides leveled the score in the 15th minute when she found the back of the net. The first half ended with the score unchanged. As both sides battled to get the go-ahead goal, it was TFC who would score and secure full points, compliments of the 31st minute effort of the boot of Thalisa Bernard. In the other match played, MMFC handed Guyana Ross Saints Football Club their first loss of the tournament when they won by the lone goal of that encounter, which was secured in the 15th minute. The win by MMFC propelled them to the top of the points table, one ahead of GRSFC, while TFC moved in third place with 5 points. For HGP Sport, I am Samuel Gillis.
Let's turn our attention to some cricket news. Brian Lara is hoping to make a difference in West Indies players' mental approach towards the game. The Caribbean side will go into the first of 2 test matches against India starting this Thursday. The details in this report.
Batting legend Brian Lara has identified the mental approach being employed as a critical area of focus for the West Indies and believes he can play a significant role in strengthening the Caribbean side in this regard as they prepare to face India in a 2-test series on Thursday. The former West Indies captain is part of the ongoing preparation camp which started last Friday at the Vivian Richards Cricket Ground, where he has lended his vast experience to the squad of young batsmen. Lara said, while the technical skills and work ethics were present in the squad, a key area to address was the mental approach. The 50-year-old Lara said, where I feel I can make an impact in their mental approach to the game, I feel as if I was to strike on one thing that I was decent at was mentally, where I prepared myself strongly and think something might be missing. West Indies face India in the opening test at the Vivian Richards Cricket Ground, hoping their wretched record improves against the visitors, which has seen them without a single test win in nearly 2 decades. However, they will be hoping to build on their success in their only test series this year, which they stunned world number 1 England 2-1 in a 3-test series in the Caribbean. For HGP Sport, I am Samuel Gillis.
More cricket news. The Jamaica Talawas have announced a temporary replacement for USA player Xavier Marshall, who will be unavailable until September 14 due to international commitments. Marshall was drafted as the Talawas ICC Americas player, but draft rules allow for him to be replaced by a Caribbean or overseas player. Marshall will be replaced by Jamaican batsman Kenar Lewis, who played 9 times for the Talawas last season. His standout performance last year was his man of the match, winning 49 against the St. Kitts and Nevis Patriots at Sabina Park. Lewis will be joining a star-studded Talawas squad, which will feature fellow Jamaican Christopher Gale and Andre Russell. That concludes our cast for this evening. I'm Jaden Samuels, reminding you, as always, say yes to life, yes to sport, and no to drugs. Good night.